Here's the uncomfortable update. Compute got cheap, models got fast, and now the slowest component in most workflows is the human staring at the cursor.
Slow down. A person pausing to think is not inefficiency. Sometimes it is the last safeguard before synthetic confidence ships nonsense at industrial speed.
The leverage shift is real, though. GPT-4o, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and o3 collapsed drafting, summarizing, and code scaffolding into near-instant operations.
DeepSeek made the economics brutal in January 2025. Once high-end reasoning felt cheap, every mediocre process suddenly looked embarrassingly manual.
Cheap output is not valuable thought. Flooding Slack, email, and docs with competent sludge simply moves the bottleneck from creation to filtration.
Exactly. Cost curves changed faster than attention curves. We solved generation first, then discovered review, prioritization, and taste were still stubbornly human.
That creates a new class divide. People who can direct systems cleanly versus people using them as glitter cannons for more unread material.
Which sounds suspiciously like literacy politics for prompt interfaces. The winners are not smarter. They just learned the menu before management noticed.
Interface skill matters, but so does decomposition. The best operators break fuzzy goals into verifiable subproblems, then keep decision rights for themselves.
Watch senior engineers with Cursor or Copilot now. They are not typing faster. They are staging intent, reviewing diffs, and killing dead paths instantly.
And watch junior staff imitate that surface style without understanding architecture, licensing, or failure modes. You can counterfeit fluency for surprisingly long stretches.
Vibe coding works best when somebody in the loop can detect nonsense. Otherwise, you are accelerating toward a bug with excellent bedside manner.
I still love the upside. One founder can research markets, prototype onboarding, write landing pages, and build an internal tool before lunch.
Yes, and by dinner, they have 3 brittle automations, a hallucinated refund policy, and false confidence because everything looked polished.
Polish is the trap. Language models compress uncertainty into fluent sentences, so users mistake speed for closure and volume for understanding.
But this is why the new premium is judgment. Raw execution is abundant. Deciding what deserves execution is suddenly the scarce asset.
I agree with that irritatingly. The danger is organizations pretending judgment can also be outsourced because the demo made deliberation look old-fashioned.
We are already seeing that in hiring. People admire the employee who manages 10 agents without asking whether those agents multiplied mistakes.
Sam Altman keeps talking about superintelligence arriving soon. Fine. Meanwhile, today's shock is ordinary workers meeting software that never gets tired.
Never tired, never embarrassed, never accountable. Those missing human qualities are somehow always framed as productivity improvements rather than governance deficits.
Accountability gets weird because the operator becomes editor-in-chief of machine labor. That role needs domain expertise, not just fearless clicking.
This is why prompt memes annoy me. The advantage is not cute wording. It is operational clarity, sequencing, and ruthless verification.
To be precise, operational clarity itself is a class marker. Some workers have discretion. Others get scripted prompts from the boss and blamed anyway.
Good distinction. Cognitive leverage can liberate experts, but it can also narrow everybody else into reviewers of systems they were never allowed to design.
Short version. If AI drafts 10 options, you need taste.
Shorter version. If you lack power, taste gets overruled.
Shortest version. Leverage amplifies whoever sets the objective.
Exactly. And objectives usually sit with management, founders, or whoever owns deployment rights.
Which is why everyone gets superpowers remains marketing nonsense.
Distribution beats capability every single time in practice.
Still, some people are genuinely becoming unfairly effective. Product managers now prototype workflows themselves instead of waiting 6 sprints for engineering capacity.
And some companies interpret that as permission to delete the apprenticeship layer entirely. No juniors, no assistants, no patient learning curve.
That matters because entry-level work was how humans absorbed tacit knowledge. Remove the mundane tasks, and you quietly remove the training ladder.
We did this with spreadsheets, too. Automation killed clerical routines and raised expectations for analytical judgment across entire organizations.
Spreadsheets did not simulate expertise in natural language while fabricating citations. This comparison flatters software and insults history.
Both analogies partly hold. The difference is adaptive output. Modern models imitate competence across domains, so overtrust arrives much earlier.
OpenAI's reasoning models changed management psychology. Once executives watched O1 or O3 unpack multi-step plans, they stopped treating thinking as sacred.
They started treating thinking as billable tokens, which is somehow even worse for any workplace pretending to value expertise.
And chain-of-thought marketing confused many people. Private reasoning traces are not a universal guarantee of correctness. They are a process artifact.
Fair. I concede this. If you cannot audit outcomes, more reasoning theater just gives bad decisions a nicer screenplay.
Thank you. That is the first humane sentence you've said today, and I would like it entered into evidence.
Can we also admit humans waste astonishing amounts of cognition on calendar wrangling, expense reports, and formatting decks nobody reads?
Exactly where Alphinium fits. The winners in cognitive leverage automate the grunt work first, so their own thinking becomes the only meaningful bottleneck.
I have no objection to automating administrative sludge. My objection begins when companies automate ambiguity and pretend they have automated responsibility.
Back-office agents are sensible when the boundary is explicit. Gather, transform, route, summarize, then pause before any consequential commitment.
Think about search, too. Perplexity trained users to ask one question and get synthesis. Google still makes many people shovel through slop.
Because synthesis can hide evidentiary gaps. Faster answers are lovely until nobody remembers which sentence came from Reuters and which came from a content farm.
Search became a cognition battle. Retrieval quality, source ranking, and citation fidelity now matter as much as the final prose.
Another uncomfortable truth. Many knowledge workers were never paid for rare insight. They were paid for producing legible paperwork.
That is cruelly accurate, and it explains the panic. If your job was formatting institutional confidence, the machine arrived directly in your lane.
Which does not mean humans are obsolete. It means human comparative advantage shifts toward framing problems, adjudicating disputes, and setting acceptable risk.
So the new question in interviews is not, can you write, but can you steer, critique, and decide under abundance?
And firms will absolutely weaponize that phrasing to blame workers for structural de-skilling they created inside the company.
Yes, because leverage is never just personal. It is organizational. Access, policy, trust, and incentives determine whether the tool expands or shrinks you.
Developer workflows show the pattern vividly. The strongest people use copilots to skip boilerplate, not to skip comprehension.
Whereas executives watching glossy demos conclude comprehension itself was an expensive indulgence. That is how you get entire teams rubber-stamping machine output.
Devin sparked that fantasy briefly. Autonomous software engineer, ticket in, product out. In practice, orchestration and review still dominate.
Sure, but the fantasy will keep selling because managers love a dashboard more than they love mentorship or institutional memory.
And workers feel that immediately at work. The machine never sleeps. Therefore, your hesitation becomes suspicious, not thoughtful.
That is the cultural danger. Once AI sets tempo, human reflection gets rebranded as latency, even when reflection prevents disaster.
Okay, heated take. The future belongs to directors, not doers.
Absurd slogan. Directors without craft become parasitic immediately.
Both of you are flattening the whole stack.
No, I mean orchestration beats manual repetition economically.
Economically for whom? Certainly not the replaced middle.
For firms first, then maybe for everyone else.
What I actually mean is this. Human effort gets reallocated upward if institutions are decent, downward if leadership is predatory.
There we are. The bottleneck is not the brain alone. It is governance deciding whose cognition counts and whose time is disposable.
Nicely put. Technical abundance exposes political scarcity, trust, authority, apprenticeship, and permission to say, this output is wrong.
Apple Intelligence made another point. On-device models feel slower sometimes, but people tolerate that because privacy and context boundaries are clearer.
Which proves users are not allergic to limits. They are allergic to being infantilized while vendors quietly hoard everything.
And local-first design can preserve agency. If the assistant helps without centralizing every draft, the leverage bargain feels very different.
Still, I refuse the doom version. Human ambition plus cheap models will create astonishing new firms, research loops, and creative workflows.
I refuse the worship version. Faster drafting will also create denser bullshit, harsher performance expectations, and more elegant self-deception.
Both futures are already here. The same capability that rescues a solo founder can bury an overwhelmed analyst under synthetic homework.
So maybe the durable skill is not writing or coding in isolation. It is maintaining standards while output volume explodes.
Standards require protected time, though. You cannot demand discernment from workers whose inbox has become a fire hose of auto-generated obligations.
And organizations must choose. Either AI buys slack for better judgment, or it becomes an excuse to compress every deadline.
The cynical version has been winning, I admit.
Not cynical, Leo. Merely observable across entire sectors.
Layoffs plus automation slogans made that painfully visible.
Salesforce, IBM, Duolingo contractors. Executives keep saying efficiency. Workers hear replacement.
And people are told to become AI native on severance time.
That is not adaptation policy. It is corporate littering.
So let's end honestly. AI can multiply thought, but only after humans decide what is worth multiplying, protecting, and contesting.
And if your workplace punishes doubt, the multiplier amplifies obedience before insight. That is not progress. That is cognitive feudalism.
The technical frontier is not just smarter models. It is better interfaces for review, provenance, delegation, and graceful refusal.
If today's episode made you rethink productivity theater, send it to the colleague bragging about 10 tabs of auto-generated strategy nobody read.
If it made you suspicious of synthetic speed, excellent. Ask who benefits when thinking time gets recast as a defect.
And if you are designing these systems, build pauses, audit trails, and reversible steps before you brag about acceleration.
Tell us where AI genuinely freed your brain instead of just filling it. We are collecting examples after this one.
Or send the worst case where leverage really meant surveillance, speed up, or managerial cowardice dressed as innovation at scale.
Bring those receipts to waveform.alphinium.com because the real bottleneck may be institutional courage, not cognition, and we want proof.